I'm Ashton Addison from BlockWest Capital for InvestmentPitch Media and the Crypto Coin Show. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Alan Chiu, CEO and co-founder of Enya. Alan, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time to come on today.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm excited to dive into Enya with regards to data, privacy, management, all of that good stuff. But I would love to kick off the interview with just a little bit on your background personally and how you got into the space and why you started Enya.
Sure. I need to go back to my undergrad work. I studied computer engineering in Vancouver at the University of British Columbia. And the first job after I graduated from college was to work at this printing technology company. And what's fascinating was our customers were high volume commercial printers. And you've got these massive, expensive printing presses that they needed to keep running all day long. And I was part of the team that built the first digital workflow management system for that industry, and had to build a distributed system that stayed up all the time. So started become very fascinated about what it takes to build software that never goes down. And then fast forward to when blockchains started becoming more prevalent, I was like, wow, this is my dream come true. I have to jump in.
Very cool. Love it. And then, that led to creating Enya. And I would love to hear a little bit for the viewers, just a high level overview and sort of the focus of Enya's platform and the solutions that you're driving into the market.
Yeah, the reason we focus on both privacy and decentralized infrastructure is because, let me also talk about our co-founder, Professor Jan Lepart, who's an engineering professor at Stanford. He comes from a background of bioengineering and has been operating at the intersection of distributed systems, data privacy, cryptography, and machine learning. So when we met each other and started thinking about the problems with how internet businesses work today, a lot of them trace back to the fact that individual users no longer have control over their own data. And so we started looking into technologies that exist today that didn't exist before when the internet was first created, and started imagining, what if we made it easier for developers to build applications that are privacy first? And what if we made it easier for users and developers alike to have more fine-grained control over who has access to their data? We're not talking about a 0 or 1 black and white situation where we don't want to share any data or we share everything completely. Oftentimes, it's helpful to have selective data sharing and selective data privacy, because oftentimes we do need to share some data in order to facilitate transactions. And that led us to creating Enya. That led us to focusing on making advanced cryptographic techniques such as secure multi-party computation and homomorphic encryption much easier for developers to use.
Great background. And yeah, data privacy, at least in the mainstream world and social media, seems like a huge topic nowadays. And people hear that, oh, blockchain may be the solution to that, where you get to own your own data. And I'm curious, obviously being familiar with the problems in the centralized industry and then looking at the main layer 1 blockchains and then moving to produce Enya, did you see frictions and holes in the main blockchains like Bitcoin, Ethereum, some of these layer 1 protocols in the way that they manage data privacy, and it really still needed to be advanced further, obviously, with the creation of Enya?
Yeah, so with blockchain, so one of the benefits, of course, is decentralization and also the resilience that comes from a decentralized infrastructure and censorship resistance. But that alone doesn't guarantee privacy. Oftentimes, we see all kinds of information that get leaked on public blockchains. And in the space of DeFi, for example, trade information or order flow information could be manipulated and taken advantage of by various actors to in a rent-seeking way that extracts profits from individual users who are just trading on DeFi platforms. And that's the symptoms of lack of finer-grained selective privacy control. Some data that end users probably don't want to be exposed on the blockchain are getting exposed, and they're being taken advantage of.
Definitely. And now with Enya as a privacy-centric network, maybe you can talk about some of the competitive advantages and those solutions that aren't available in projects like Bitcoin and Ethereum.
So at Enya, what we have developed so far is making it super easy for developers to implement data privacy first applications that leave sensitive data on edge devices like mobile phones, using techniques like secure multi-party computation and homomorphic encryption. And that gives controls back to the end user to decide, well, do I want to keep the data on my phone, or do I want to allow the developer or the application to perhaps perform a limited set of operations post encryption of my data. And that ensures that my sensitive information never gets out there. Now, that kind of edge-based secure computation approach is very complementary to a decentralized infrastructure that we're building today in the blockchain world, where if you are able to secure data at the edge device and then give folks the ability to control what could be done with their data afterwards, then you don't need to worry about sensitive data being stored on a public blockchain for eternity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned secure MPC twice now, and I know a lot of people, that have gotten into Bitcoin and Ethereum, they understand that those transactions are protected by cryptography and that there's SHA 256, but I'm sure most people aren't familiar with secure MPC. Maybe you can just elaborate on what really multi-party computation is and how it benefits the users to have that on the blockchain.
Sure. At a very high level, what secure multi-party computation is this is a problem it sets out to solve. Let's say you have two or more parties that own their individual data. They want to come together and compute a result that's based on the information that everybody has, but they don't want to share that information with each other. These could be competitors in an industry, but they want to look for fraud together, for example, or look for suspicious patterns in their data set. That's what secure multi-party computation sets out to solve. Mm-hmm. And it's able to compute a result on the collective data set without requiring all the data to be pooled together in a common place.
Great. Thanks for that, Alan. And I was looking at some of the networks that are looking at implementing Enya's privacy-centric advantages, and I saw that you recently partnered with OMG Network, which is a project that I'm really interested in, and to create the OMGX network with more privacy-centric functionality. Maybe you can talk about that partnership. What does that do with Enya now merging in to create OMGX and what that means for the industry?
We're super excited about OMGX because it is, first of all, an EVM compatible, Ethereum compatible layer 2 that's trust rooted in Ethereum itself. So any DeFi projects could, or NFT issuers could easily migrate to OMGX and start enjoying the cost savings and the fast throughput of this layer 2 solution. But on top of that, we are also introducing whole new capabilities in OMGX, and we're calling them extensible smart contracts and hybrid compute. What that enables is a smart contract developer can now write decentralized applications that trigger code that runs on web scale infrastructure like AWS Lambda. What that means is you can shift the more computationally intensive algorithms off-chain to AWS. You can even implement algorithms that are simply too slow or too expensive to be done in the context of Solidity or perform these computations on-chain. So all of a sudden, advanced computation techniques like secure computation are now possible in the context of a decentralized application.
Very cool. And you mentioned there are DeFi applications. It seems I've seen a lot of information in the news about centralized finance versus decentralized, and people sort of moving over for their own privacy of their information. But also a lot of these DeFi networks, they're on public blockchains. So, your information is still public, although you're not giving your personal information sometimes to a centralized entity. It's still, there is information that's available out on the networks. I'm curious, with Enya having these privacy-centric functionalities, also looking at the DeFi space, how that can fit together. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about the DeFi space, how you see it, how you see the trends moving forward as DeFi continues to grow.
We're certainly seeing a major trend in DeFi happening, which is a drive towards capital efficiency as well as user friendliness. And that makes sense as the industry matures, because capital efficiency, the more efficient use of capital will drive higher returns, which of course attracts liquidity providers. And despite the incredible growth of DeFi over the past couple of years, we're still in the early days. And there are a lot of user experience issues that need to be resolved, including privacy concerns. And by introducing OMGX with extensible smart contracts, we anticipate DeFi project teams to over time start taking advantage of our hybrid compute capabilities to roll out more sophisticated algorithms that lead to better capital efficiency, as well as using advanced techniques like secure computation to better protect the privacy of their individual users. And the better they serve their users, the more users they will attract and the more liquidity they will also bring into their protocol.
Definitely. And I saw that your team is developing a lot of development functionalities to help get some of these networks integrated more privacy functionality, DeFi and not. And that goes for, you know, the OMGX network. I'm sure you have more partnerships in the works as well. And I know that your team's also making it easier for layer 2 solutions, which it seems most of these major networks and projects that are on major networks are partnering with layer 2 solutions just because it only makes sense to make it faster and cheaper. Can you talk about the development ecosystem for Enya, how you're making it easier for these other networks to come on and layer 2 specifically as well?
Sure. We have, from day one, when we started Enya, we've always been focused on making advanced technologies accessible and easily usable by developers. Because otherwise, these technologies are just going to get stuck in research and never get out there and be widely distributed. In the context of OMGX, the approach that we're taking is, for one, we are partnering with teams such as Polywrap, formerly known as Web3 API, to make sure that we are at the forefront of Web3 innovations to make it super easy for developers to build on our platform, to build client-side apps without having to integrate static SDKs into their web apps. On top of that, we're also making sure that in terms of integration workflows, that we have a dedicated team that provides a lot of developer support to any developers that wish to build on our platform. And we also invest a lot of resources in making sure our documentation is current and comprehensive. So this technology matters in driving adoption, but also we got to look at the whole picture, bring to market a whole wing-to-wing solution that takes the human elements into account as well.
Definitely. I completely agree, Alan. And with all of these development functions that your team's working on, I'm guessing you're going to continue to work on that through the rest of the year. I'm curious if there's any major milestones or big roadmap updates that Enya is looking to release through the next 6 months or before the end of 2021.
We launched the testnet for OMGX on Rinkeby 3 months ago, and we've been super fortunate to be working with a fair number of really strong teams that are going to be migrating their projects over to the OMGX platform. We have many exciting announcements coming down the pipe in the next several months that I can't talk about right now, but we're super excited about what we'll be able to do for users, for developers, and to help grow the whole Ethereum ecosystem together.
Great. Well, I'll be looking forward to those future partnerships as they roll out. Thanks for hinting at that. And I'm curious, you know, the next 6 months, obviously your team's working hard, but let's take a look down the road, you know, 3, 5+ years down the road. How do you see the future of these blockchain networks with regards to privacy and data management, and Enya's role in being one of those main success factors to being implemented across the industry and ensuring that there's more privacy throughout the entire blockchain ecosystem?
think we're still going through a lot of growing pains as a community, as an ecosystem. And as a result, a lot of developers are legitimately focused on scalability issues, cost issues, because these are really constraining how quickly we can grow the overall ecosystem. But once we've gotten past these shorter term humps, the newer users who are just dabbling in DeFi and minting their first NFTs are going to start wondering, well, what's happening to my personal information? Who knows what I'm doing on these blockchains? Mm-hmm. And what kinds of trails am I leaving on Ethereum or maybe other blockchains that I'm using? What's been happening in the web world? Cross-site cookie tracking has been widely reported in the media, which in turn has sensitized general consumers to data privacy issues to a degree that perhaps they weren't as aware of 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So these concerns are not going to go away just because they are now trading on a DeFi protocol or yield farming on DeFi or minting NFTs. So as an ecosystem, we need to start anticipating these privacy concerns and build private applications that have privacy controls built in from day one rather than reacting to user concerns after the fact. We should learn from the Web 2 experience and do a better job in the Web 3 world.
Definitely, and I think proactivity is the key there, and you mentioned that. So thank you for that insight, Alan, into the future. It's a bright future ahead. And for the viewers that are looking to follow along, learn more about privacy-centric networks like Enya and more about data management and their own privacy, and to follow along with these updates and with OMGX as well, what's the best way for them to learn more and to get involved into the communities? Fantastic. So follow us on Twitter. Twitter handle is Enya.ai and OMG Network HQ. We have a Telegram group as well. The links are in the Twitter bio. We also have a Discord server. Again, these links are available on social media. Really looking forward to growing the community together. Definitely. Thanks, Alan. I will leave the links as well in the description box below for the viewers. All the best with Enya moving forward, and let's follow up in the near future. Looking forward to it. Thank you.